Welcome to the Esoerotic Dark Feminine Magic Podcast. My name is Crimson, creatrix of Esoeroticism, and I help mystically minded folks awaken their dark feminine magic. Welcome to the Portal of Enchantment. Welcome, Tara Valkyrie, back to the Esoerotic Dark Feminine Magic podcast. It is time for our December Dark Feminine Astrology chat. So, Tara, welcome.
Hello.
What are the themes we have to look forward to in December?
Okay, so December, if I had to distill it down, it is remembrance and reckoning. And I mean reckoning in the most empowering, fun way. Don't worry.
Oh, well, that's good. And so we know that we are currently in Sagittarius season.
Mhm.
On that a little bit on our November report. But what would you say is the dominant astro happening this month?
So I would say the biggest thing that is going on is we had Saturn station direct on the 27th. So just a couple of days ago. And it's still, from our perspective, it's still gaining momentum. And we're really going to be feeling that energy throughout the month of December.
Which
And
means that we are going to feel less stuck when it comes to explain to us what we're going to be feeling, because some
yeah.
people, I know we talked about it on our last episode, but what did Saturn retrograde feel like versus now what can we look forward to?
Yeah, so Saturn retrograde is quite an adventure. So just quick review for anyone new. Saturn is the planet of structure, of boundaries, of responsibility, and reward. And it rules Capricorn and Aquarius. So it is about kind of like the nitty gritty. How do we structure our lives, both inwardly and outwardly, so that we can do all the awesome shit that we want to do? And so when it goes retrograde, anytime we have a retrograde of any planet, it's a review period. It's a reflection period. So retrograde Saturn was a time of we're reviewing the structures in our lives. We're reviewing boundaries, whether that is, I need to set a stronger boundary. Or maybe I've been so rigid that it's actually constrained me and I haven't been able to do what I want to do. So what if I chilled out a little bit and made that boundary a bit more permeable? Where have I been? We've been reviewing, where have we been in obligation instead of sacred service? That one, I mentioned that one. I definitely had to assess that. So anyway, Saturn retrograde was this period where we were reviewing all of those things. And yes, as you already pointed out, it can feel frustrating because we as humans, we love moving forward. We love being in control. We love going through our little checklist, our little planners. And Saturn is, especially in retrograde, is like, hey, hold up. Let's look at that again. And it's a really, really powerful time. And so we've been in this, it's kind of been a lot of just, we have this idea. For some of us, it might have been, we had this idea, we have something we're working on, and we're like, okay, I got it all planned out. And then we get there, and Saturn's like, actually, did you look at this? Or actually, guess what? The bank is closed, so you can't get that loan, or whatever it might be. So now that Saturn is direct, as it begins to, again, from our perspective, move forward, it's going to feel like all the stuff that's been percolating for the last 5 months, we're finally getting a bit more forward momentum and a lot more clarity. So yeah.
And hopefully we use the past 5 months to really flesh things out and build stronger foundations. I know that Saturn always rewards as long as, we listen to the lessons that it's trying to teach us. And so I have definitely been having this conversation with a lot of witches recently
Yeah.
of, I just feel really unclear on how I thought I wanted this one thing and now I'm meeting this resistance and now this one thing fell through. And so maybe I'm supposed to be doing this thing. And yes,
Yeah.
that's what we were supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be allowing the intuitive flow to guide us into
Mm-hmm.
greater insight on truly what is a more aligned and solid path forward. So, which is, have you been paying attention? And hopefully now you're saying that, as you know, especially through the beginning of the month, as we are more strongly moving forward out of that shadow phase, it's like the clarity will come, the path
Yes.
will open, as long as we took those lessons learned and are moving forward in a more aligned, learned way, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I think the biggest thing to also remember about any of the planetary movements, but especially Saturn, and I say that because we really feel Saturn um, in our bodies.
Mm.
And if you want to go down the medical astrology wormhole, it's really fascinating. But bottom line, Saturn rules, like I said earlier, rules structure. That includes our literal body structure, our bones, our skin, how we are working with that. And so I will say that when we are ignoring Saturn, when we are disconnected from ourselves, that's when we really feel just sluggish versus reflective. And then two, a big thing why I love astrology, and we were talking about this just the other day, is it is so interwoven with the dark feminine and with our own self study, because the movements of the planets, they're not linear. Okay, we have this retrograde movement, and then it's a forward movement, and then we'll have another retrograde later on in 2026. It's these cycles, and they're non-linear. And it's so important to be aware of that. And even, okay, I'm also going to say too, even if you haven't been doing the work, one, chances are you've been doing a lot more subconscious work than you realize. And two, there's no FOMO in astrology, meaning, and y'all, if you took Moon Club with me, you've heard me say this, meaning instead of getting down on yourself, if you're like, oh, I should have worked on this during the retrograde, look at where you are and look at where you can start. Because that's the thing. Saturn's like, just start.
Yeah.
Just do it. Like, we'll work it all out. And that's the really cool thing about Saturn, is Saturn's like, I'm going to help you work it out. It might take longer than you want it to, but I'm going to help you work it out, because it is this energy of knowing that you can accomplish these things.
I like that. It's like no
Mhm.
one's being left behind here.
Yeah.
It's simply that if you are more aware of these energies happening, you can work with them in your favor. So it's potentially less friction
Hmm.
at someone who may not be aware and is resisting or clinging or not aware that, oh, okay, these are things that I should note. Someone who is not aware of the cyclical nature of our realities and the spiral nature of our
Yes.
realities and the non-linearity. And so, yes, totally dark feminine, totally this internal system that is
Hmm.
reflected in the external cosmos. So I love that you know that I love how you teach astrology and how you guide us in the multiverse. So yes, yes, because people, I think, so cling to this idea of linearity
Mhm.
and resisting the dark feminine mysteries. They think that they want to use astrology and tarot and divination and spirit work and all of these things for affirming a set in stone future, that
Right.
this is what is destined to happen. You have no free will. Whereas it's all just energy soup, and we have energy inclinations, but
Hmm.
we always have the final word. And so, yeah, no one's left behind.
Hmm.
And the energy is the energy, and we can engage with it in our own free will. And us witches are at an advantage because we know what's happening.
Right. We know what's going on. And the other thing I'll say too, because Saturn has gotten kind of, Saturn has been one of like the constructed boogeymen
Yeah.
of the zodiac. And I remember a mentor said this to me and I loved it. She was like, I mean this with all the love. The planets don't care about you. And what she meant was they're
Yeah.
not doing stuff to be mean to you. They're not doing stuff to harm you. Like they do not compel, as we say.
Yeah.
And yeah, the biggest thing, especially right now, because we're also speaking of cycles, we're in the darkening part of the year in the northern hemisphere. And we're going into we're in this natural shedding cycle, death cycle, rest cycle, preparation cycle, whatever that means to you. And that's another thing is when we own our sovereignty, we own where we are in these cycles. And that's a big thing with Saturn is just authentically own where you are. Where we get in trouble with Saturn, especially, I mean, all the planets, but especially Saturn, is when we are attached to ego and when we're attached to expectation through ego.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I have such an appreciation for Saturn because I think
Mhm.
Saturn is what makes us successful humans.
Yes.
It really, I think the other more sexy planets can be very alluring and
Yes.
can also abandon us when
Mhm.
things get a little tough. And Saturn's like, nope, I'm holding your hand through it, but we're going through.
Right.
Getting
Right.
uncomfortable, but you know what? We're also, what did I hear this quote that some people say, push-ups make me tired, and then some people say push-ups make me stronger. And I
Yes.
feel like Saturn is the push-up. So
It is. It is. And Saturn, the higher vibe of Saturn is it's going to make you stronger because you are better than what you're currently serving yourself.
yeah.
And yeah, yeah. I think of Saturn, Saturn calls us in and is like, "Hey, I'm calling you, I'm calling you in on this, and you can sit here and cry about it and feel judged, or you can see that I'm showing you this because I believe in you, and let's get to work."
Yeah. And so what
Mhm.
do you think about, so friends, get ready for some clarity, get ready for some
Yeah.
forward momentum, hopefully,
Oh yeah.
if that's something that we're ready for.
Hmm.
Gratitude. And let me ask you, because our multiverse theme of the month is Jupiter.
Speaking of
And
sexy planets.
I know. So it makes me think how those can be friends, right? Like we
Yeah.
always say Saturn rewards. And it's
Hmm.
almost like Jupiter is the reward waiting on the other side in some sense. And can we speak a little bit about Jupiter, and because I know it rules Sagittarius and it's Sagittarius season.
Yeah.
What's going
So
on with Jupiter right now?
Yeah, so Jupiter's also in retrograde right now. Jupiter went retrograde November 11th. It's retrograde all the way until March 11th. So, yeah, yeah. And
Cancer,
it's
right?
yes, in Cancer, correct. And Saturn and Jupiter, so what I love about this, if you think of the planets as like little adventure buddies, or Jupiter's case, big adventure buddies. Saturn's the realist. The Saturn's like, we need food, we need money for gas. It's doing the quote unquote boring stuff that you absolutely need for the trip to be successful. And then Jupiter is like the fun buddy that's like, yeah, we need snacks and we can get cotton candy.
Yeah.
And it's like we can go nuts in the gas station and like just get all like the crazy stuff. Jupiter is it's this planet of optimism. So it rules Sagittarius. It is also the traditional ruler of Pisces before they discovered Neptune. So it is about expansion. It's about truth seeking. It is about betting on yourself. And that's where Saturn and Jupiter, they're simpatico because Saturn is like, you're better than this. This is why I'm pushing on you. And Jupiter's like, yeah, man, bet on yourself. Like, you are worth it. Do it. And the higher vibe of Jupiter is like, hey, take that chance, take that risk. If you trust yourself, it's going to be worth it. And wherever we have Jupiter moving, so check where Cancer is, because wherever we have Jupiter moving, even with retrograde, that's an area of your life during this transit period where you just naturally, you got a bit of luck on your side. If you're going to want to take risks in those areas, if you're wanting to break patterns, habits, change things, manifest, that's an area of your life where you're going to have like these kind of lucky moments where there was nothing you could have done. It's just, it worked out in your favor. And that's Jupiter.
Oh,
And yeah, you're so right with Jupiter and Saturn, because Saturn's pushing you and kind of being harsh, and Jupiter is actually also going in that same direction, but being a little nicer about it.
yeah, like Jupiter wants us to find greater inner truth,
Yeah.
which it then wants us to show up and express and step into greater power. And when we do that, it sees this expansive growth
Yes.
from betting on yourself. And so,
Mhm.
and you're right, when it's represented in certain areas of our life, it feels lucky. It feels like, oh, this is where I'm fortunate. This is where it's also where we're naturally expansive, right? So
Yeah.
so I like
Mhm.
that. I think we are in a time where we really do have to bet on ourselves.
Yes.
Especially we keep talking about change of paradigms, and
Mhm.
we have to start with ourselves, and as is within, so is without. So that's some
Mhm.
wonderful news.
It
And
is.
yeah. What
Yeah.
else would you say? What else are we going to look at in December? What should we be aware of?
Okay. So, pretty much. So I know that November was pretty, I'm going to use the word we don't like, but I'm just going to say it. November was pretty intense
Yeah.
for a lot of people. I mean, we were in Scorpio season. Scorpio is digging down. I know I talked about that last month. And, Scorpio digs up the stuff we'd rather not deal with, or the things that we had to bury, and when we were in survival mode. So November was a lot of exhuming. We started Sagittarius season. And what is going on with December is this is about applying a lot of whatever came up for us in November. So where we felt maybe our egos got bruised. Maybe we felt called out. Maybe we were beaten up on ourselves about where we were in our progress or lack thereof. December is a lot of integration of those shadows around our sovereignty. Yeah.
Favorite word. Ah, you got me all turned on with the sovereignty.
Yeah. So within that, what that means, because so I said earlier, we have Jupiter in retrograde. We still have Uranus in retrograde. That's retrograde until early February. And we have Neptune in retrograde until December 10th. And then it starts to move forward. All of these outer planet retrogrades are showing us a review of collective trends and then how they are relating to us. So one, it's looking at what is our societal conditioning? How have we internalized that? Jupiter is also the planet of beliefs. So what do we believe about ourselves? How have our beliefs formed? Are they truly ours, or are they the result of external conditioning? So with all of this, December is really about, we're gaining more clarity in our everyday. And it's this kind of back and forth between as within, so without. So we're having this kind of cosmic conversation that is, manifesting within us of, where have we been operating? What are the origins of those stories? And then where do we want to go? And it's so, so important, whether or not January 1st is your personal New Year, or whether that's, later, or whether it was earlier. Again, I've said this, there's like 4,000 New Years in one year. So like wherever you are, but regardless, once we go through the month of December, January 1st, it is the beginning of a new cycle. And so we're really integrating. If November was the exhuming, the dredging up, December is the integration. and the re-empowerment.
Mm.
So,
Yes, I
yeah.
love that. That does feel very Jupiterian in the sense
Yes.
that, okay, get
Yeah.
integrate and get out there. A little slap on the old ass, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, like the football, when the football
Yes,
players slap each other, that's what it is.
yes,
That's Jupiter, you
that's
know?
what it is. Get out there. So, oh, this is wonderful. And so I know we have the full moon in Gemini just within a
On
few
the 4th.
days.
Yep.
Yeah. And then we have that new moon in Sag. I'm
Yeah.
hearing that this new moon, which is a couple days before the solstice, but
Yep.
it's on the galactic center, which apparently is supposed to be a pretty powerful position for it to be. So, anything
Yes.
you want to tell us about these full moons and new moons to get
Oh,
ourselves pumped
yeah.
up?
Yeah, so I'm gonna start with the full moon because that happens first this year.
Yeah.
So the full moon in Gemini, one I always just gently tell people mischief alert. This is purely anecdotal. I've just found that especially if you have mutable placements, or if you have your 4 angles, so your first, your fourth, your seventh, your 10th house, on the mutable angles, the Gemini full moon, for whatever reason, it just tends to be like funny mischief. It's almost like a little mini Mercury retrograde.
Well,
So
Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and we know Mercury
exactly.
is the trickster. So I always think that Gemini has a little trickster energy to it, a
Hmm.
little mischievous to it. So that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, yeah. So just keep that in mind. And we may see, again, this is just something that I've noticed each year. There's usually some kind of petty drama, either with politicians or with big companies, like something collective
Mm.
that I always call it like a popcorn moment,
Ooh.
where it's not like a disaster or a tragedy. It's just like something that's like, oh, you guys, it's like your neighbors fighting, and you're just like, you're hearing like all sorts of like juicy tea.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but overall, it is with this full moon, something to be aware of. And I love that you pointed out that this moon is ruled by Mercury, because Gemini and Virgo ruled by Mercury. We're having some kind of internal polarization, just an awareness of a dichotomy between our mental energies and our somatic energies, our body energies. And one thing I want to be clear on, I know we talk about embodiment a lot. This is not to villainize our mental processes. This is just to see where sometimes our mental processes can kind of disconnect us from what our body intuition is saying. And within this, I just have some notes here. This is a highlight on our local communities.
Mm.
So, one way, I mean, one big thing right now, and I know this has been kind of talked about, and it's really prevalent right now, is the buying local versus giving our money to big corporations. And it's the holiday season. Um, and so one big thing is just a remembrance of the power of local community. And that's not just about buying stuff. I mean, yes, go buy stuff from your local artists. And remember that you have this community of people. And that when it's so important for us to physically get out in our environment. I know you're doing this awesome full moon gathering at your property, and you're pulling local people. And it's I've said this before, and it's one of those things that we don't realize the importance of it until we are in it. But it's easy to dismiss local communities. We can watch what's going on in the world. It's easy to be like, oh, I live in rural Texas, or I live in rural North Carolina, there's no one around like me.
Mm.
And like, you were telling me about the people that are coming to your full moon gathering, and it's just literally like local people that and they're excited about it. They're like, "Oh, I can't wait!" And they're bringing people. And I have some things planned in December as well, out at Crown Fox and Houston, things like that. And this full moon is really highlighting that one, we are what we seek, and it is so important to connect with each other with that energy. And remembering our sovereignty, we are what we seek. So going out there and making connections with people, that is really, really important during this time. And this is also going to provide insight for us with whatever it is we've been working on, or if we've been lost. That connection is going to provide insight as to where we're going in the next 3 months.
Mhm. Oh, so good. Such an always good reminder of
Yeah.
the local check-in, and that
Hmm.
it is, we think I have no influence because I'm not at a national level and of influence in politics or something, whereas like
Right.
you could probably get on your like local school board or something,
Right.
you want it to be in like a position like that, but it's more just like your engagement and meeting your community. And
Hmm.
I feel very strongly about the power of community moving
Yeah.
forward, after a lot of isolation that I think
Yes.
we imposed upon ourselves, and rugged individuality. And I think that part of
Hmm.
feminine is connectivity, and
Yes.
the weaving together of like-minded individuals to
Mhm.
support each other, but also to challenge each other. That's the thing about community, is I think that our communities shouldn't be purely fawning, right? That
Yes.
there is
No
like a,
echo chambers. Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, of course, I want to, we're going to have multiple communities. My community here in coastal
Hmm.
Carolina is going to be all different kinds of people, but then I'm going to
Yes.
supply smaller and smaller and smaller communities. And so it's nice having our niche, like-minded ones,
Yes.
and then see how we integrate into potentially people who are not like-minded, but how we can still
Hmm.
live together, coexist, and actually find more commonalities than we
Yes.
realize, which to me is how you really change the world, is by
Yes.
finding the people who you think are your enemies and sitting down and having a conversation and getting to know them and recognizing we have a lot in common. And
Hmm.
I'm actually going to have a lot more empathy for you and
Yeah.
your viewpoints and positions as you will for me.
Yeah.
um, that's how, in all instances, that's how we have really changed. Um, we've created more, I think, sympathetic and empathetic experiences. I'll say two examples.
Mhm.
One is, did I say this last month of how I love that girl, Monty Mater, or whatever her name?
Yes, Montemator, yes.
Talked about her last month, and did I was saying how she was talked out of Christian fundamentalism was
Mhm.
through a community who did not yell at her.
Right.
And then I was listening to the story just today about a KKK leader who in the 60s or 70s had went into talks with a black woman,
Mhm.
and he ended up leaving the KKK and
Yeah.
became a civil rights advocate in the 60s or 70s, because instead of yelling at each other and putting up
Mhm.
walls, they said, let's just sit down. And this is where I have heard, I hope I don't repeat myself because I love this story, but how politically right now, the issue is that in the past, politicians would stay in DC on weekends. And so they
Mhm.
would meet out at restaurants and bars,
Yep.
and they would meet each other's family. And then it wasn't so divisive. But now, because of money and politics, politicians on weekends fly back to their states to fundraise. So there is no community, local
Mhm.
community in DC where people of different belief systems can still see the humanity in each other and learn from each other and live
Mhm.
with each other. And it's that individualism and that separateness and that unwillingness to meet on a human level that has created such a divisive um,
Right.
country. And
Mhm.
how really getting money in politics has really divided us in more ways than we're actually realizing, which is that
Mhm.
now our representatives have to fly home every weekend. So they do not see their coworkers really as humans because they don't even know them. And so it's
Right.
really important. So that's kind of, that was a
Mhm.
little trail off, but on
No,
community,
I love it.
really not isolating ourselves and really getting out there and meeting all of the people and
Mhm.
to see humans as humans again, because that's where we come back and meet in the middle, which to me is like equity and justice and
Mhm.
and for all. So
Yeah, and that's,
that's
the
something that's fringe.
yeah, no, but it's so important, and then, the whole transit of Jupiter and Cancer is
Mm.
about, I mean, Cancer is about the home front. It is about, the hearth, the home. Jupiter is a collective planet as well as an individual one. So, and it's very much a social planet. So, I love that. Even if you did tell that story last month, I can't remember if you did or not. I love that you shared it, because another huge thing that happened last month is we had a bunch of elections that showed when we get out there and vote in integrity, we can shift things. Um, and that was so, so powerful, because it's really easy. And a lot of the top down messaging is meant to fearmonger on
Yeah.
both sides. I've said this before, for shits and grins, I will watch something on Fox News, and then I'll watch it on NBC. I'll go to different websites and see, like, what are they picking out and what is the message? But when you actually get into the local communities and talking with people, you realize at the end of the day, like, the percentage that are, like, actually, horrible racist fascists is, like, tiny, 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 compared to the people that either are, uninformed, or are, there are certain issues that they care about, that they are voting based on those.
Or they're just
And
scared because they've been taught
yes,
to fear something they don't know or understand.
yes,
And this is where we have
yes.
to meet and learn about each other.
Yeah, and that is textbook. Jupiter retrograde in Cancer is, hey, let's reassess where our beliefs come from, and remember, Jupiter in Cancer. Remember, this is all of our home. Like,
Mhm.
so let's figure out a solution. And then the full moon in Gemini is literally, go talk to each other. I've told you stories about, there's some ranchers that live next to me, and they're, for a long time, they wouldn't really talk to me. Then one time, apparently they had watched me, like, several full moons. I was, like, doing my feral witch stuff out in a field. And they finally asked me, they're like, hey, what are you doing? And I admit, I was bracing. I was like, "Oh man, they're gonna judge me. They're gonna think something about me." And even though these ranchers are not also, dancing in a field, singing to the moon, they understand, giving thanks to the land. And so we could find common ground. And then, that's where we started talking. And then now it was funny, because one of them texted me just the other day, and he's like, hey, I found a bunch of snake skins. Do you want them? Because, and so just realizing that oftentimes we start in completely different ends of a spectrum. And these transits, especially in December, are saying, take the risk, bet on yourself. Now, obviously, there's going to be, using discernment. There are going to be certain situations where maybe it's not in the best interest to, like, start a conversation with someone. But learning to the discernment of learning when to walk away from something.
Mhm.
And I'll also just reiterate, I've said this before, a lot of the uh the posts, the websites on social media that are very incendiary, very divisive, every time you comment, you're helping them make money. And
They're
also, a lot of the trolls are bots.
Yeah, I was
They're
gonna
not
say
actual
there,
people.
and we just realized that so many of them are from different countries, and
Yes.
that it
Yes.
is like a higher agenda, that
Yeah.
different countries actually have these centers where they have
Mhm.
people who just literally create fake accounts, and these bots, they go in and they try to incite a narrative to infuriate people because it serves their political agenda on a higher level. And so,
and they make a lot of money off of us hating each other.
They do. And you know what I love, you said before, versus change from the top up. Change happens from the bottom. It's not the top down, it's the bottom up. And this is really what you're saying right here, which is if we want change, we need to stop looking to the top to tell us what to do. Us from the quote unquote bottom, where we are in the position of power, is we actually have to make the changes, and then the top responds, you know?
Yes. And that in tandem with, Pluto is in Aquarius. And to distill that down into a very simple definition, Pluto in Aquarius is power to the people.
Like power to the people. That's us. We're people.
Yeah, we're people. We're the people, you guys.
My gosh.
Yeah. So we've got this, this full moon in Gemini. And then, we also have the new moon in Sagittarius, which is, 2 weeks after the full moon in Gemini. And with December being on that Gemini Sagittarius axis, because they're always across from each other. Speaking of Jupiter, the new moon is Jupiter ruled. So it's almost like the full moon is like, hey, connect with your local people, because then the new moon is about, we are expanding into a new belief system. And again, it's the next level of integrating shadows around sovereignty. And it is this daring to believe in the dream that you're wanting to create.
Ooh.
Yeah, because that's also a form of resistance against the fear messaging. Because when we're fearful, when we're anxious, we're not able to conjure, to manifest, to access our esoerotic power. We contract, we pull in, we go back to what we know, and often what we know, it actually no longer works for us. And so the new moon, and you're right, it's also at that galactic center, which is a point in space where they believe the galaxies we have originated from, the center of our known universe. And this is really, really potent energy around, you're taking what you believe, what you're wanting to create. You're also harnessing Saturn, because Jupiter's like, okay, we're going to dream this up. Saturn's like, cool story. Here's how we bring it into reality. So, and then yes, it's just before the winter solstice, which is, the longest night of the year in the Northern Hemisphere. So this is a symbolic time of really embracing the shadow. And the shadow's not bad. Y'all know that. In case you're new, I'm just telling you now, it's not bad. It's not bad. Shadow simply means that which we may not consciously understand immediately. But it's where a lot of our power is. If you think about it, so many things have to occur within the shadow realm in order to thrive in the conscious realm or the light realm. And the other cool thing, I made a note about this. This dark moon occurs at 28 degrees Sagittarius. And to summarize, there's so many rabbit holes you can go down in astrology. One is the degrees and the zodiac signs that they are connected to. And so what's interesting about this Sagittarius new moon is it's at 28 degrees, which is the Cancerian degree.
Interesting. That's also the degree where my moon is at.
Ooh, so you got and you have a Sagittarius moon too, right?
Well, that's the moon. Yeah, my moon's at 28 degrees Sag, and 27 or 28, and then I'm a Cancer sun. So
ooh, nice. Yeah, so you are having an emotional rebirth,
Oh,
and then there's going to be potential expansion around what's going on with your home and your property. So
ooh,
rock on.
so rock on. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So and what I mean by that is, being in the Cancer degree, all that means is the energy of that zodiac sign, Cancer, is infused into this new moon.
Mm,
Cancer is about legacy. It's cardinal water. So it is about really being in our integrity with whatever we are creating. And whatever we are creating around this new moon has potential to be legacy level.
I love that because it feels like
Mhm.
that is really Saturn rewarding us. And it
Yes.
feels like it's Jupiter wanting us to expand. And so
Mhm.
the journey always makes sense when you honor it and when you meet the energy where it's at and you follow those divine cosmic breadcrumbs that
Yes.
ultimately there is a reward. And I
Mhm.
like that idea. And I will just shamelessly plug, I'm doing for our multiverse new moon. I'm actually
Mhm.
holding a new moon winter solstice
Woo-hoo.
virtual ritual on that Sunday of the winter solstice. And
Awesome.
yes, so if you just go to esoerotic.com, go to
Mhm.
the schedule page, you can sign up for it there. Because usually those are multiverse only. But I was like,
Mhm.
let's see if anybody else wants to
Open
join.
it.
If
Yeah.
you just want to unite, from the coziness
Mhm.
of the home, but do a ritual with other witches, because it is a powerful one and really set some intentions and devotions for yourself moving forward, join
Yeah.
us.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Highly recommend. And yeah, so there's this aspect of what I think of Cancer. And I know there's plenty of memes about Cancer. But really, when I think of like the highest embodiment of Cancer, I wrote this down. Cancer is fierce nurturing and embodied intuition.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is, with this, the other thing I'll say about this new moon is it does square the nodes in Pisces and Virgo. Um, and so, oh, actually, I take that back. The full moon squares the nodes in Pisces and Virgo.
Mm.
Sorry about that. It
Okay.
squares Neptune and Saturn at the end of Pisces.
Mm.
And I wanted to point that out because another thing that, and I know you and I have talked about this, but I like to remind people of this when it comes to ritual, when it comes to manifestation, is we often think of manifestation as this linear, like, okay, I'm going to do this ritual and I'm going to do these things. And I say that the chance, or I say the thing, and then I wait for cosmic Santa Claus to come bring me my thing. And the reality is, especially when we have the squaring, a square to any planet is a growth opportunity. That's what it ultimately is to our ego. It can feel like a challenge. It can feel like a delay. But you said earlier, one thing you said that I loved was following the breadcrumbs. And that's really what this is like. It is not, you must do this ritual this one time right. And if you don't do it right, you're not going to get your cosmic treats. That's, that's not how it works. But it is being aware of, this is what I want to conjure forth. And then how do I embody that going forward? As in, what are the everyday decisions that I'm making? Is that in my integrity, or is that in an external expectation that doesn't work for me?
Yeah.
Am I challenging myself in a healthy way, in a way that is growth oriented? Or am I challenging myself because I think I'm undeserving of abundance?
Ooh,
Yeah. Yeah.
discipline versus devotion.
That.
Yeah.
That. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Oh my
Mhm.
goodness. Um,
Yeah. So that's big. And we are really, the other thing too that I wrote down, and this is excerpted from the Astro report because I'm like, this is so important, is we're also invited to question where we tend to dismiss our hope out of guilt or overwhelm. Jupiter is linked with hope. And I'm not talking about just like blind hope of like, oh yeah, well, I hope, even though I went out drinking and I'm hungover and I didn't pack my suitcase, I hope I still make my flight. Um, but just the choosing how we are viewing things. And this is not about positive vibes only, but this is about choosing to trust ourselves and choosing to reframe the way we see things. I think a lot of the conditioning that we, especially as femme presenting people, what we're overcoming is because we've had to do a lot of emotional labor and a lot of reading of the room. We tend to naturally default to worrying or anxiety or adjusting our expectations. And what we're unlearning is going into that kind of like, oh, though this probably won't work. There's a difference between not holding expectation versus assuming disappointment. And what I love about this new moon and the energy of December is there's so many things that naturally tip us toward authentic optimism and directing those feelings of hope into action.
I mean, that's why I love Sag energy.
Yeah.
Because it just has I mean, that it's where my moon is and my Mercury, and I just have a very
Yes.
optimistic way of moving through the world.
Yes, you're very Sagittarius. When I think of Sag, like you come to mind.
Very comfortable.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like, it's not out of Delulu.
No.
It is kind of out of a greater, I like a trust, or I like that hope.
Yes.
But a greater just belief that the world is nonlinear. So when things don't seem to be working out, maybe they are. Or at the worst, I learned something and I'm choosing to just move forward.
Yeah.
I think that there is a Sagittarian quality to not cling, and maybe that's why Sagittarius is also related to higher learning and great travel, and all of that stuff, because there is like I don't have to stay stagnant in it.
Yeah.
Which is really, yeah, I love that energy. And I think we could all benefit from that right now in a year that has just felt like we've been
Yes.
beat the fuck up, and just let Sag and Jupy come on in and just give us a little shift of optimism, and that it's never things aren't always going on an upward trajectory, and things aren't always going on a downward trajectory. We are cyclical.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so, a lot of times when we think about, Sagittarius energy often gets dismissed as not being serious. It gets dismissed as like, the party sign.
Party girl, yeah.
Yeah, the party girl. What I love about Sagittarius and the medicine it brings is it says you can be an ambitious badass. You can be working and you can be happy about it. You can be hopeful about it. No offense to Capricorn, but like Capricorn often Capricorn's like, oh yeah, that's the ambitious one. That's the career-minded one. And it's not that Sagittarius doesn't care about legacy. It's not that it doesn't, in fact, it's very attuned to what is the lasting impact. But because it's ruled by Jupiter, it's like we can work hard and have fun while we're doing it.
Yeah, we might as well, if we're, toppling patriarchy and creating new paradigms, we might as well dance through it and have fun with our homies and our witches and find pleasure and joy. And isn't that also a lesson of the dark feminine? It's like, we always talk about the dark feminine are aspects of ourselves that we reject, and that is relegated to the darkness because it's judged, shamed, taught to fear. And one of those things is actually pleasure.
Yeah. Oh, and that's huge. And that is the, if I had to, put a paragraph next to Sagittarius, I would highlight how potent our pleasure is.
Mm.
And, and again, and I know that we've talked about this, and this is a huge tenet of what we promote within the dark feminine esoeroticism is our pleasure is not cutesy bubble baths. It's not, out with my bestie, brunch with my besties. And like, that's an aspect of it. But when we talk about pleasure being our birthright, and that's very Sagittarius as well, this is your literal life force. If you are disconnected from this for too long, they have done studies. It does cause cancer. It can kill you.
Wow.
It causes autoimmune issues. It causes neural difficulties. Like it's not just about, okay, well, I'm gonna do a little bubble bath and like that's my pleasure. Your pleasure, when you are connected to it, that is also a connection to your intuition. Being aware of your pleasure can save your life in so many different ways. Yeah. That's a different podcast, but
I'm sure we'll get to it one of these months.
we'll get to it. Yeah. Yeah. But it's a big deal. And that is, you always talk about, you have this whole saying, but the one that always sticks in my mind, and if I could have a little tagline for December, it would be my pleasure, my power.
My body, my
Because
pleasure, my power, my magic. That's our
yes,
evocation.
yes, yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And so many
Yeah.
people confuse pleasure with disassociation and numbing and escapism.
Right.
And, reminding ourselves that pleasure is it's so much more than
Mhm.
a bubble bath.
Oh
Um,
my God. Yeah.
it's so much more than, you know, Netflix and chill and disassociation and all that, because a
Yeah.
lot of people do, because I love a good Netflix and chill and all
Yeah. Yeah.
that.
Fun.
If that's what we associate with pleasure, I think we're a little disconnected from our sensuality.
Yeah.
And we have to also think about pleasure as what you started off at the beginning was having December be the month where Jupiter's reminding you to like, hey, you show up and do you, boo. Like,
Mhm.
you have great potential. And that is pleasure to me, living a life that we love, where we bet on
Mhm.
ourselves because that we believe that what we desire, we're worthy of stepping into. That's pleasure to me. Uh,
Yes.
we
Yes.
tend to forget when you look up pleasure online, because I've done it before, it
Oh
always
Lord.
talk about sex, and it's like,
I know.
do you know that pleasure is not an orgasm? That like
Mhm.
pleasure is a state of being and existing where we are in a state where we feel good and we're present and
Yeah.
it's a state of like embodied presence that
Yes.
is feels good. And that
Yeah.
we get that through our dance and our movement, which was what we're all about with esoeroticism. But living a life in pleasure is super important as well. It doesn't mean that it's not gluttony and it's not
Right.
disassociation and it's not just, oh, I'm just doing things because it feels good. That's not what we're saying. But can we think
Mhm.
of pleasure at greater depth?
Yeah, and you had said something earlier about, being worthy of our pleasure. And there's like two things I think are really cool. One is, we're in Sagittarius season. That's ruled by Jupiter. Then later in December, at the winter solstice on the 21st, we go into Capricorn season. That's ruled by Saturn. So again, Jupiter and Saturn are buddies
Yeah.
because Jupiter is saying, okay, dream big, believe in yourself, believe that you are worthy of that. And then Saturn's going to come in and be like, that is an awesome dream. Let's bring it into the physical realm. And then also on the 24th, Christmas Eve, if you celebrate Christmas, is Venus enters Capricorn. And that is Venus in Capricorn. Venus is also about owning your worth, your pleasure being related to your worth. And that is about like long-term cultivation. And, kind of this after, especially after this new moon in Sagittarius, we really have this emphasis on cultivating long-term security because that is the, and whatever that means to us. There's going to be a huge emphasis, especially in 2026, of like owning what matters to you, owning what is worthy of you, um, owning just your inherent worth as a human on this planet. But pleasure really comes into it, and pleasure becomes this huge driver for cultivating what you were describing. Cultivate this entire life that is about our pleasure and our sovereignty. And like what you're saying, it's not like, okay, we find this and we're never going to have any problems ever again. But it's recognizing what is important to us. How do we define pleasure, security, abundance? Because that is going to help us act in integrity as we go forward. Because 2025 was something else, and 2026 through 2028 they're an adventure, you guys.
Gosh. Yeah, a couple things. Yeah, pleasure is to suggest that pleasure just means being unchallenged.
Mhm.
It just when you follow your pleasure, you're essentially following your inner compass. You're
Yeah.
in alignment. This,
Yes.
is, and when we are in alignment, things just, it's like flowing with the stream versus fighting against the stream. If you can align with your pleasure, doesn't mean there's not going to be some little water snakes, or there's not going to be, like, of course there's challenges, of course, you
Yeah.
know, life isn't rainbows, unicorns, lollipops all the time,
Mhm.
but you're in flow. So it's less
Mhm.
treacherous. And does this mean, I think that maybe we end things here and we hint at having a 2026 year ahead? The next one will be like a year ahead type of what we can look forward to with our, we'll have an extended January one, maybe.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I want to give December its own spotlight. So yeah, this is a great place to wrap up. But yeah, those are just kind of the overall themes. Um, and we really are, and back when I said earlier about remembrance and reckoning, um, again, reckoning is not like, oh, you did something bad and now you're going to get punished. Reckoning just means, hey, you know, no one's going to save you but you.
Mhm.
And you are worthy of pleasure. You are worthy of creating a life that you enjoy, that is something that you are proud of, that nourishes you. Um, and the remembering is just, it's coming back to a lot of aspects of embodiment that, over the summer we had, for a while we had the Mercury retrograde this past month. Mercury is now direct, and so this is a big time of just coming back to what is important to us, and really connecting with true embodied pleasure, which, as you said, is really powerful for staying in alignment. And I'll talk more about alignment when we do our extended um, January one. But December is a good landing spot where we're just integrating things and listening to what is alignment versus what is obligation.
That part. That
Hmm.
part. And I think that's part of our dark feminine work, is really being able to shed what we believe is our own, but has truly been an external influence or pressure put upon us,
Yeah.
expectation, whatever. That's part of our work in the dark feminine, is really being able to shed that, which I know it's the year of the water snake, and they say that we've been shedding all year. So it
Mhm.
feels very us. Um,
Yes.
I guess the last question I'm going to ask is, so we had the year of the water snake. I know we're moving into the year of the horse. Are
Hmm.
those actually related to astrology in terms of the energy? Is there horse energy in the astrology in 2026, which is like forward momentum and
Yes. Yes. So, there, yeah, this, so we can look at astrology, And I know like you and I typically talk about Western astrology. There's obviously, Chinese astrology, which by the way, you guys study, if you love astrology, like study all of the iterations of it. There's not one that is better than the other. I regularly lose sleep because I start reading about Vedic astrology or Chinese astrology. Also, you've got several overlapping themes within Chinese astrology, Western astrology, also with numerology.
Mm-hmm.
So 2025 was a year 9.
Yeah.
That was a
Completion.
wrapping up,
Shedding.
yeah, an ending year. And 2026 is a year 1. So yes, there's a lot of overlap as far as themes where we start out 2026 and Neptune moves into Aries, Saturn moves back into Aries. They are in Aries, for good. Neptune never goes back to Pisces in our lifetime. And Aries is all about forward momentum. Cardinal fire, we're doing this.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, and so yes, it is.
Okay.
There's absolutely a correlation between.
Sorry, I put that heavy question on you.
Whoa, that was a good one. I love it.
How the Chinese New Year and numerology and astrology relate them all. Tell me.
Yeah.
So that's something that I've been wondering. That makes sense that the Chinese New Year is based on the Chinese astrology, and all astrologies are related, even though there are some differences.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, so exciting, Tara. I also want to use this opportunity to let people know, even though this is what Tara would think is the fake New Year, it's my New Year. Tara likes to celebrate the New Year at Aries season.
Yes.
The beginning of Aries season. I call this egregore New Year, meaning the whole world has agreed that the calendar changes from one year to the next on January 1st. And so we have created an energetic egregore that says this is a time of death and rebirth. And so
yes.
I freaking love it. And so if someone is also celebrating this egregore New Year and they want to know what they can look forward to for themselves in their personal charts in the year ahead, are you doing year ahead astrology readings?
Yes, I am.
How did they find you?
So they can find me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is just Tara.Valkyrie. And I've got a link in my bio up at the top where you can go book you a reading.
Yeah.
Yes,
and I always put your link in the show notes. And just wanted to give a shout out at that. So
awesome.
Yeah, Tara, thank you so much. This was awesome. I'm really excited for this energy, but I think I'm always excited for everything because I'm a Sag and I'm an optimist.
Yeah, you got a Sag moon. You're excited about everything.
Yeah, so well, appreciate it. Sign us off, babe.
All right. Love yourselves, love each other, and happy stargazing.
Thank you for listening. Bye.
Thank you for joining. Follow me on Instagram at crimson.minx and visit esoerotic.com to learn to live more fully and unapologetically in your magnetic power, sensual pleasure, and unlimited creative potential.